The anomalous species. The galactic archives were silent except for the occasional soft chirp of Zephyri's data stylus as it moved across the holographic displays. As chief cinemusicologist of the Consortium of Advanced Species, Zephyr had spent decades studying the musical development of every known intelligent species. Today marked the beginning of humanity's file, the newest members of the galactic community. Begin recording. Analysis of Sol-3 indigenous sapient species, Homo sapiens, musical cultural development. Zephyr dictated, their four eyes blinking in sequence as the archive systems initialized. Preliminary data suggests anomalous patterns requiring thorough investigation. The archives had granted Zephyr unprecedented access to Earth's historical records after humanity's successful first contact 5 years prior. What had started as a routine cataloging project had quickly evolved into something that kept Zephyr awake during their designated rest cycles. Computer, display timeline comparison. Musical development versus warfare development for species designation humans. The holographic display shifted, creating a side-by-side comparison that made Zephyr's breathing tubes constrict. The earliest evidence of human musical instruments dated back approximately 40,000 Earth years, primitive flutes carved from bird bones and mammoth ivory. By contrast, the first evidence of organized warfare appeared a mere 13,000 years ago. Verification requested, Zephyr said, their voice rising with an emotion their species rarely displayed. Confirm accuracy of temporal displacement between artistic and warfare development. Verified, the computer responded. Data sources include human archaeological records, carbon dating, and cultural artifact analysis. Confidence level, 97.8%. Zephyr's four hands moved in their species' gesture of astonishment. Every other predator species in the galaxy had developed warfare first, using their natural aggression to establish dominance before cultural expressions emerge. Music typically came thousands of years after weapons, not before. This contradicts all established xenosociological models, Zephyr muttered. Computer, display vocal range comparison between humans and other cataloged species. The display shifted again, showing frequency ranges across multiple species. Humans stood out dramatically, their vocal range spanning nearly 7 octaves, far beyond most other species. Zephyr spent the next 3 rotation cycles immersed in human musical history. The sheer diversity was overwhelming. From simple rhythmic drumming to complex symphonies, from solo vocalists to massive chores, from gentle lullabies to intense expressions that humans called metal. What fascinated Zephyr most was how humans used music, not merely for entertainment but for communication, for bonding, for healing, for worship, for protest, for celebration, for mourning. They literally sang before they fought, Zephyr noted, and even when they began fighting, they brought music with them. Military marches, war drums, battle hymns, songs of resistance, anthems of peace. Humans had interwoven music into every aspect of their conflicts, turning even their darkest moments into expressions of beauty and emotional resonance. When the Consortium Council requested an update on Zephyr's findings, the xenomusicologist requested something unprecedented: direct contact with human musicians. 3 weeks later, Zephyr stood nervously in Earth's first interstellar cultural exchange center in what humans called Vienna. The human delegation included musicians from various traditions around their planet, classical composers, indigenous drummers, electronic music producers, vocal performers, and more. We've prepared demonstrations of our major musical traditions, explained Dr. Eliza Chen, the human coordinator. But before we begin, we'd love to hear about your research interests. Zephyr's translator hummed as they carefully formed their response. I am studying an anomaly that no other species has demonstrated, Zephyr said. You developed music tens of thousands of years before organized warfare. This contradicts all known models of predator species development. We need to understand why. The humans exchanged glances, some with expressions Zephyri's cultural training identified as surprise and amusement. "I'm not sure we've ever thought about it that way," said Kamau, an African drum master. "Music is simply part of what makes us human. It came naturally to us." Naturally. Zephyri's secondary breathing tubes fluttered in confusion. "But you are anatomically designed as pursuit predators. Your evolutionary advantages should have prioritized hunting and territorial defense, conflict, not harmonic expression." A silver-haired human with a stringed instrument, Zephyri's database identified it as a violin, spoke up. "Perhaps that's precisely why we needed music," she said. "We weren't the strongest or fastest predators. We needed to cooperate to survive." "Yes," said another human, a vocalist from a tradition called opera. "Music helped us bond, communicate over distances, pass knowledge between generations. It united us." Zephyri's data stylus moved furiously, recording every word. "You're suggesting music was an evolutionary advantage." "More than that," Dr. Chen interjected. "Recent neuroscience suggests music shaped our brain development. It helped us form complex social bonds, develop language, and coordinate group activities. Music isn't just something we do. It's fundamentally part of how we became what we are." The demonstration began, and Zephyr experienced human music directly for the first time. The xenomusicologists' specialized sensory organs detected not just the sounds but the neurological responses in their own brain. Pleasure centers activating, stress hormones reducing, attention networks engaging. Human music was affecting Zephyr physiologically, despite having evolved on a planet 37 light-years away. Hours later, back in the privacy of their temporary Earth quarters, Zephyr recorded their most significant finding yet. Humans did not develop music as an artistic expression after ensuring their survival. Music was fundamental to how they survived at all. They sing not because they conquered. They conquered because they could sing. Zephyr paused, considering the implications. And the most remarkable discovery: their music affects non-human neurological systems, including my own. This suggests something far more profound than cultural development. Human music may represent an entirely unclassified form of evolutionary advantage, one that continues to function even in interspecies contexts. The xenomusicologists sent an urgent message to the Consortium Council: request immediate expansion of research scope. Human musical development may represent the most significant xenocultural discovery of the century. We may need to reconsider our fundamental understanding of what constitutes an evolutionary advantage for intelligent species. As Zephyr prepared for sleep, a melody from the day's demonstrations lingered in their mind. A simple human lullaby that somehow bypassed all conscious thought and induced a feeling of deep peace. For the first time in their career, Zephyr faced the possibility that objective analysis alone might not be sufficient. To truly understand human music, they might need to experience it as humans did, not just as sound, but as something that reached into the soul. Computer, play recording. Human demonstration sample 17, Zephyr said softly. As the gentle melody filled the room, Zephyr wondered if they were experiencing something that had helped shape humanity from its earliest days. The mysterious power of music that might explain how a physically unimpressive species had managed to survive, thrive, and eventually reach for the stars. The symphony of survival. 6 months into Earth's rotation around its sun, Zephyr had established an unprecedented research protocol. Rather than merely cataloging and analyzing human music, the xenomusicologist was learning to play it. Under the tutelage of Dr. Chen and others at the Cultural Exchange Center, Zephyr had modified a traditional Earth instrument, a piano, to accommodate their four-handed physiology. "Your progress is remarkable," Dr. Chen said as Zephyr completed a simple piece called For Elise. "You've developed in months what many humans take years to master." "My species has enhanced fine motor control," Zephyr explained, though privately they suspected something else was happening. The more they immersed themselves in human music, the more they felt changed by it. Their reports to the consortium had grown increasingly subjective, filled with personal observations that would have been considered inappropriate in traditional xenocultural studies. But the consortium wasn't complaining. Quite the opposite. Zeffrey's research had sparked intense interest across multiple scientific disciplines. Neuroscientists, evolutionary biologists, and military strategists were all suddenly fascinated by humanity's musical development. The latter group troubled Zeffrey. Why would military analysts care about human music? The answer came during an encrypted transmission from consortium headquarters. "Your research has implications beyond cultural understanding," said Elder Nizik, the consortium's chief security advisor. The elder's scared face filled Zeffrey's private view screen. "The Valkyrie Dominion has taken notice of humanity's recent admission to the galactic community. They view any expansion of the consortium as a threat." Zeffrey's primary heart quickened. The Valkyrie were the galaxy's most aggressive species, a reptilian race that had expanded through conquest rather than cooperation. "What does this have to do with my music research?" Zeffrey asked. The Valkyrie believe that predicting a species' military capabilities requires understanding their evolutionary psychology, Nizik explained. "Your discovery about human music preceding warfare is confusing their analysts. They can't determine if humans are a threat or not." "Humans aren't inherently aggressive," Zeffrey protested. "Their musical development suggests." "That's not how the Valkyrie see it," Nizik interrupted. "They believe any species that survived as predators must be dangerous. The fact that humans developed such complex social bonding through music, bonding that enabled them to cooperate and eventually dominate their planet, makes the Valkyrie nervous. They're considering a preemptive strike against Earth's colonies." Zeffrey's forehands trembled. "We can't allow that. Humans are still new to interstellar relations. They're not prepared for a Valkyrie assault. Which is why I'm contacting you," Nizik said. "The Consortium Council believes your research might provide an alternative solution. Continue your work, but with a new focus. Find a way that human music might help avert this conflict." After the transmission ended, Zeffrey sat motionless at their modified piano. The idea seemed absurd. How could music prevent an interspecies war? Yet something in their research suggested a possibility that rational analysis couldn't quite grasp. The next day, Zeffrey approached Dr. Chen with a carefully edited version of the truth. "I need to understand how humans have used music to resolve conflicts," Zeffrey explained. "Not just as an emotional outlet, but as a direct intervention." Dr. Chen considered this request. "There's plenty of examples, from protest songs that changed policies to musical diplomacy between hostile nations, but I sense you're looking for something more specific." "I'm interested in music's effect on non-human neurology," Zeffrey admitted. "My own responses to human music have been unexpected." This led to a new phase of research. Working with human neurologists and composers, Zeffrey began studying how specific musical elements affected different species' brain functions. The findings were revolutionary. Certain harmonic structures consistently induced calm across multiple species. Specific rhythmic patterns enhanced cognitive function and reduced aggressive impulses in almost all tested subjects. 3 weeks later, as tensions with the Valkyrie reached a critical point, Zeffrey presented their findings to a joint session of the Consortium Council and Earth's diplomatic corps. "Human music affects neurological functions across species boundaries," Zeffrey explained, their voice steady despite their anxiety. "We believe this effect is strongest with the Valkyrie, whose auditory processing centers are highly developed." Admiral Soren Lakota, Earth's military representative, looked skeptical. "You're suggesting we try to, what? Serenade an aggressive alien species into peace talks?" "Not exactly," Zeffrey replied. "But we propose including a specific musical component in all diplomatic communications with the Valkyrie. These harmonic structures seem to bypass rational defenses and create neurological states conducive to cooperation rather than conflict." Against considerable skepticism, the plan was approved, not because anyone believed it would work, but because all conventional diplomatic approaches had failed. The first contact with the Valkyrie fleet commander included a subtle harmonic undertone that human composers had developed based on Zephyri's research. To everyone's surprise, the typically aggressive Valkyrie agreed to delay military action pending direct talks. "It worked," Dr. Chen whispered during the transmission. "They actually stood down." "For now," Zephyr cautioned, "but this is just the beginning." Over the following weeks, a remarkable collaboration emerged. Human musicians worked with xenobiologists to develop what they called the Harmony Protocol, a system of musical elements that could be incorporated into interspecies communication to facilitate peaceful interaction. When the Valkyrie eventually agreed to send representatives to neutral territory for direct negotiations, Zephyr accompanied the human diplomatic team. The meeting took place on a space station at the edge of contested space. The atmosphere was tense as the reptilian Valkyrie delegates entered the chamber, their scales reflecting the artificial light in iridescent patterns. The human delegation had prepared something unprecedented, a live musical performance combining Earth instruments with harmonic structures specifically designed to resonate with Valkyrie neurology. As the performance began, Zephyr watched the Valkyrie closely. Their typical aggressive posture gradually softened. Their compound pupils dilated. By the time the final notes faded, something had clearly changed. The head Valkyrie delegate, a battle-scarred veteran named Sherik, spoke first. "Your species continues to confound our understanding," he said, his translator converting the hissing language to standard consortium speech. "You developed music before weapons, yet you survived. Now you use music as a weapon of peace. Explain this contradiction." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Music isn't a weapon to us. It's a bridge. It allows us to connect with each other, with our past, with our emotions, and now, we hope, with you. We sing together because it reminds us we're stronger together than apart." The negotiations that followed weren't easy, but they were productive. The immediate threat of conflict receded as both sides agreed to established borders and communication protocols. More remarkably, the Valkyrie requested additional cultural exchanges focusing on human music. Months later, as Zephyr prepared to return to consortium headquarters with their completed research, Dr. Chen organized a farewell concert. The program included works from across human history, from ancient tribal songs to classical masterpieces to contemporary compositions, including several pieces Zephyr had helped create. Most surprising was the final performance, a Valkyrie musician playing an adaptation of a human melody, the harsh tones of their native music blending with the harmonies Zephyr had studied so thoroughly. "I finally understand," Zephyr told Dr. Chen afterward. "Humans invented music before war not despite being predators, but because of it. You needed something to unite you, to help you cooperate, to remind you of your shared humanity even in conflict. Music wasn't a luxury that came after survival. It was essential to how you survived at all." Dr. Chen smiled. "And now it might help the galaxy survive, too." As Zephyr's ship departed Earth orbit, they made their final research entry. "The species that sang before it fought has now taught the stars to sing." Human music, their first and perhaps greatest invention, may ultimately prove to be their most important contribution to galactic peace. They developed harmony long before they mastered war, and in doing so, they may have discovered the one weapon that never destroys, only creates. In the privacy of their cabin, Zephyr placed their 4 hands on the portable keyboard they'd brought from Earth and began to play a simple human melody, one that had existed for thousands of years before humans had ever raised weapons against each other. The notes floated through the ship as it accelerated toward the stars, carrying a message that transcended language, species, and even time itself. "Before we learned to fight, we mastered harmony."